Hi y'all, welcome to my channel. I'm the Southern Nerdista, and today we're going to take our first trip through time and space with the Doctor and Rose Tyler, his new companion, as they travel to the year 5 billion. And yes, that's billion with a B. A quick recap for those of you just joining us. The Doctor is back as his ninth regeneration. He saves Rose Tyler from the living plastic, also known as the Autons, and she in return saves the Doctor and all of humanity from the nesting consciousness, voiced by Nicholas Briggs, who will stay with the show as the voice of the Daleks and the Cybermen. He invites her to travel with him in the TARDIS, and at first she declines, but then she accepts his invitation, and that brings us to today's episode. Now, for those of you just joining us, the Southern Nerdista does give spoilers. So, if you don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you go watch the episode and then come back. If you don't care about spoilers, then just carry on, my wayward peeps. So let's get into the episode. Rose has left Mickey in the alley with his mouth hanging open to join the Doctor. Now, just a reminder, as all of y'all Southern mama, we do not get in strange spaceships with aliens we just met, because that's how you end up on murder shows. Now, the Doctor really wants to impress Rose, and he knows exactly where he wants to take her, and that's not nefarious at all. When the TARDIS lands on Platform 1 and Rose steps out, she sees planet Earth through a large viewing window. Moments later, the sun expands and the Doctor says, "Welcome to the end of the world," a nod to the episode title before leading into the opening credits. This series, like the 1996 movie, breaks with tradition and doesn't include the Doctor's image in the opening credits. As the Doctor and Rose wait for the other guests to arrive, the steward comes out, assuming, rightly so, that they shouldn't be there. The Doctor flips open a passport-sized book that appears to be empty, but the steward accepts this blank page as their invitation and begins to prepare for the other guests. The Doctor explains to Rose that psychic paper shows what he wants it to show, and this won't be the last time that we see the Doctor using psychic paper to get into places where he shouldn't be. As the guests begin to arrive, they pass out gifts of peace. First is Jabe, a tree, who gives a cutting of her grandfather. The Doctor pats his pockets for something to give in return before settling on the air from his lungs, which is probably my favorite line from this entire episode. And he breathes on Jabe, who calls it an intimate gift. Now this gets a rather irritated look from Rose. Next is the Mox of Balhoun and his gift of bodily saliva. He spits in Rose's face to the utter delight of the Doctor and more annoyance from Rose. The adherents of the repeated meme hands out silver balls. And finally, we have the first appearance of two of my favorite recurring characters, the face of Bo and the last human, so she claims, the Lady Cassandra. If she sounds familiar, it's because the character is voiced by Zoe Wanamaker. Most will probably know her best as Madam Hooch, the Quidditch referee and flying instructor in the Harry Potter franchise. She brings two gifts. The first is the last ostrich egg, and the second is an old jukebox that she calls an iPod. While everyone waits for the destruction of Earth, one of these silver balls opens up undetected and a mechanical spider scrambles out and runs off. Rose, a bit freaked out to watch her planet die, even though it's empty of all inhabitants, finds somewhere to be alone with her thoughts. And after a brief conversation with a maintenance worker, she realizes she went to space with a total stranger. I mean, I could have told her that was a sketchy idea, but nobody asked me. So, Jabe scans the Doctor and gets some information she says is impossible. What could she have learned about our favorite alien? The Doctor goes searching for Rose while more of those spiders skulk about, and they get into an argument. She demands to know who he is, where he's from, anything that gives her an idea of who she's traveling with. All questions I would have asked before getting in the TARDIS. He's adamant that his past doesn't matter, only the here and now. This is our first real indication that the Doctor has a major tragedy in his backstory. A sort of unspoken truce is formed, and Rose comments that her phone doesn't have any signal, and the Doctor upgrades it. This is the first of two signs that she is the new companion. The steward has found out about the spiders when one of them shows up in his office. The metal arachnid hits a button, and the sun filter lowers, killing the steward. Back to our guests in the main lobby. If you listen closely right as this scene starts, you can briefly hear the Mox of Balhoun talking to the face of Bo, and he mentions that this is a bad wolf scenario. It's so quick I missed it the first two times I watched the series, and I only caught it this time because I knew it was there. Bad Wolf will become important later in the series and carry over into the stories of future Doctors. It's a big enough plot line that I included it in one of my Doctor Who tattoos right there. So while searching for the engine room, Jabe tells the doctor about how Platform 1 operates. She says it's completely automated and crew is unnecessary, which means if there is trouble, they're on their own. The doctor loves this. He asks, is it unsinkable? And goes on to mention he was on another ship that was said to be unsinkable. Having seen his photo in episode 1 with the family who didn't board the Titanic, I think we're supposed to gather that he boarded the ill-fated vessel at the time the photo was taken. At least that's what I'm going to go with. We switch back to Rose, and her conversation with Cassandra takes a dark turn. Cassandra considers herself the last pure human, boasting that she's had 708 surgeries, but everyone else is a mongrel. Rose goes off on Cassandra when Cassandra starts picking at where Rose could nip, tuck, and flatten. Meanwhile, Jabe admits to scanning the doctor. More hints are dropped about a catastrophic event in his past. The doctor sheds a single tear before steeling himself, and then the moment is over. Using his sonic screwdriver, he gets the door to the engine room open, and then we switch back to Rose, who is attacked by the repeated meme and dragged off. She wakes up in a locked room with the sun filter descending, just like with the steward. The doctor uses his sonic screwdriver again, because really this thing can do just about anything, to raise the sun filter before she becomes toast like the steward. The computer system is haywire thanks to our metal friends, and the door is jammed. But at least she's alive for now. Jabe is with the other guests trying to figure out how the spiders got on board to begin with. Cassandra immediately points a finger at the face of Bo. Metaphorically speaking, seeing as how she is a skin trampoline and doesn't have actual fingers. The doctor sends the spider he captured earlier to find its owner, and it goes to the adherents of the repeated meme. But the doctor knows that these are not real aliens, they're droids, and he rips the arm off of one of them to prove it. What is it with him ripping off arms? I mean, really, I think the Ninth Doctor and Rocket Raccoon from the MCU would get along fantastically. The spider click-clacks its way to Cassandra, who is the real mastermind. She remarks, I bet you were the school SWAT and never got kissed. This comment most likely refers to the 1996 movie where the Doctor does indeed kiss his companion on screen for the first time, which was controversial as this has never been done in Doctor Who before. There had always been a strict, unwritten, no shenanigans in the TARDIS rule. The Doctor taking Rose's hand in the first episode was also a big departure from the original run of the show. Cassandra gives her villain monologue and admits it was all to pay for her very expensive surgeries. She transports out before she can be vaporized by the expanding sun with the other guests. Jabe sacrifices herself to save everyone, but not before she calls the Doctor a Time Lord like this is significant. The Doctor is able to manually raise the shields, but it's too late for Jabe and a few of the others. The Doctor finds the device that transported Cassandra off Platform 1 in the ostrich egg, and he reverses it to bring her back. Rose begs the Doctor to save Cassandra as the overly hot room dries her out, but in a rare moment of anger for her murder of innocents, he refuses, saying everything has its time and everything dies. Cassandra explodes. You may be asking yourself, how can she be a recurring character now that she's a bunch of skin chunks? But remember, this show doesn't follow a linear timeline. The Doctor takes an upset Rose back to her own time where he finally tells her about his past. There was a war between his planet and others. Nobody survived except him. He is the last Time Lord. But Rose says he's not alone. He has her. And the episode ends with the pair walking off to get food. Now, next time on Doctor Who, we're going to go to the past where Rose and the Doctor join forces with Charles Dickens to investigate a mysterious plague of zombies. Alright, so here's my review. Take it or leave it, it's just my opinion. For me, this episode is a miss. The plot's a bit boring with a few interesting characters like Cassandra and the face of Bo. The idea for this episode was to show off what the new series could do, and it contained over 200 visual effects that I think are lost on the average viewer. An episode like this, I think, could have come later in the season after we've gotten to know our main characters a bit better. Without a doubt, I come back to this episode to meet my favorite characters, the face of Bo and Cassandra. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you like what you heard, hit that subscribe button below. And remember, guys, you don't have to be an expert to be a fan. Thanks. See y'all next time.